Okay.
Woo!
Yay. First one.
Oh yes, first one, Starseed musings or whatever. I'm super excited
Yeah.
to be chatting with you, Jennifer, on our first episode of this podcast slash web series. Um, I know there's a lot of different things we like to talk about. I feel like you and I just kind of bounce around to subject to subject to subject. So like, let's see what we channel through today.
Yeah.
And what are you interested in chatting about? Talking to our
Um,
viewers.
let's see. Um, I'm trying well, I feel like so this morning I kind of was on like a health kick. Like I watched a YouTube video about someone making sea moss jelly and
That's
I
what you
was like,
texted me about.
"Oh, yeah." I was like, "Do you do this? Cuz it sounds awesome." And then I mean, you never know too on YouTube, but like this girl just had like glowing skin and beautiful hair and she was like, "Yeah, I attribute a lot of it to the sea moss jelly." And so then I spent a little more time than I should have, like Googling books. I was like, oh, let me get into this. So I guess I just want to see if you're kind of feeling that same like wave of energy, like because I feel like right now I'm just like more focused on health than maybe, and not that I have been like in the past, but definitely like recently. I don't know, maybe it was just Corona was kind of like a speed bump or like quarantine. Um, yeah, I don't know. How about you? Did you feel like you kind of had like a little bump of unhealthiness and then but now are kind of like getting pushed towards it too?
Yeah. I want you hit the nail on the head with that actually. Like I feel like when quarantine first happened and even now I got really into and used to ordering food on Seamless just out of like ease and like you know what I'm saying on delivery apps and stuff like that just cuz I didn't want to go outside to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I didn't want to be outside and now I'm kind of used to it. And so really am feeling the urge, the need to like reintroduce more raw food specifically for me. I was actually thinking about this last night how it's been a while since I've had just like a really big like raw salad with like all the good stuff, all the goodness. How long it's been since I've made like my own smoothie and didn't just like order one or something. You know what I'm saying? Like I do miss eating really well and feeling really energetic and good, you know?
Yeah, and I was even thinking about like how I'm just trying to add more herbs and seasonings and have just like I feel like lately I've been doing a lot of like grab and go. So even if it's a smoothie, it's just the berries and the water and the milk or maybe like a protein powder. But I feel like I used to like definitely always add cacao and maca and like add all these superfoods. And then for my
Yeah.
dinner, like a lot more seasonings and um, I don't know. Yeah, I'm like, I need to get back to that. I've just been, I feel like lazy cooking.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely like I feel like I've been doing more herbal teas than I have been doing like I still sometimes I know I told you like at one point I was doing this like humongous like Chinese herb superfood like smoothie to replace coffee. Today I'm having coffee, but it was needed. um, but I have definitely kind of fallen off of it. For me personally, like when it comes to the powders and herbs, like I love it. It's convenient for the most part, but sometimes it gets really expensive. So like we're heading into the Christmas season and I find myself having to choose between like a gift for someone or a bulk like superfood. Do you ever run into that?
Yeah, although you just kind of brought up something and gave me a good idea. I was like, oh, maybe this year for Christmas, I'll give everyone superfood powders and
Mm.
teas.
Mm.
Just buy everything, like you said, in bulk and then kind of divvy it out. And, you know, that they'll drink it eventually.
I kind of like the DIY approach.
Hmm. Yeah, and it'd be
Yeah.
cute. Like put it in a little mason jar, like layer it and then tie a ribbon or get a label.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that. I definitely feel like in my house, I feel like we've definitely drank the Christmas Kool-Aid and it's all about whatever the present is and not about like the thought really. Like I've even gotten out of the practice of like allowing my friends to just get me what they want. I'm always like, so this is what I've been looking at. Feel
Yeah.
free to choose. Like, you know what I'm saying? Um, So I love this idea of like a personal touch and you're sharing the goodness with people. I love that.
Yeah, I feel like you're right. Like I've gotten lazy too with like not only cooking but gifting. Just yeah, my one of my sisters even has just oh sorry, thought oh, are you still there?
Yep.
Oh, okay, sorry. I gotta I thought I turned everything off, but I my phone and computer are like attached, so it showed up here. But sorry, back to the thing. Yeah, I feel like it just was really easy to get lazy. Like one of my sisters has a Google Drive of like her like to buy things, and we usually just for her birthday and for Christmas just put, you know, like everyone we either buy something or go all in and like buy like a bigger gift. But um yeah, I don't know. I feel like now too with during the pandemic, a blessing is that we have like more, or most of us have more free time. um, and yeah, I definitely want to get more into making stuff and making stuff healthier. And um, I don't know. I feel like I used to do that, and then I kind of just, like I said, just stopped. Just got too busy, I guess.
Yeah. And like back to your original question around like the health stuff, like aside from health, I do feel like since we've been inside, I really have become acutely aware of the things that are making me happy or that I'm loving about my life and what I do and how I spend my time and how I'm not. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there is a little bit more time since you're not go, go, go all the time. There's more time to reflect and really like kind of feel your body and feel your senses and kind of there's an opportunity here to be like more aware of like your day and how you're spending it and what you're thinking throughout the day and assuming you're not just on the computer all day like I think many Americans are, many people around the world are, but I have felt like aside from the health thing like a need to like pick up more like new age books and like just a desire to be around more like community of like-minded people, if that makes sense. Like sometimes it's hard for me to focus during the day because I'm like I'm doing this but I could be making like a really cool tea or I could be like reading this incredible book that I'm reading this month or you know and finishing the story or I could be like talking to Jennifer about astrology, like you know what I'm saying, it's like there's just so many things, you know?
Yeah. And it's like you said, it definitely puts things in perspective. Like I feel like a lot of days I am just on the computer all day, and I definitely like hate it. Like like
Yeah,
you said, like I'm like, oh, what else could I be doing? And then I feel like because I'm getting distracted, it's taking me more time. So I've been trying to lately just I haven't actually been setting timers, but I've been in my mind, I'm like, okay, I only have like an hour, 2 hours to do this, and then I'm gonna go for a walk, or I'm going to do some stretches, or um,
that's
just
good.
anything to kind of break up the day because I do spend definitely too much time on my computer.
I think that is really helpful. Like, for example, I'm a Pisces, and I know I'm stereotyping. I'm sure not all Pisces are like this, but I can get really like, if you can imagine, like really like flexible with my deadlines in my mind. I'm like, oh, I have all the time in the world, even though I don't. Or I'll just pretend I'm not getting closer and closer to my deadline. When really I am. So I think like really trying to compartmentalize the day a little bit more is really helpful and like setting that schedule. So it's like, I don't know, really set, I think is really helpful for will be really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's definitely not just a Pisces thing because well, I guess I have Pisces moon, but I definitely am like that too. I'm like the day before a deadline, I'm like, oh well, it's okay. It's not due till like tomorrow night.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then like I'm getting it done, but I'm just like I'm spending more time. Like I feel like if I it would be I think good for me to set up kind of the same schedule I do with like work for like spiritual things, like be like, all right, um I'm gonna make a tea today or a bath salt or something, and then you know in between all of this work from home because it's definitely a lot more flexible, which is nice. But um well, I guess I don't want to say I haven't been maximizing the flexibility because I think sometimes it's good just to like relax and kind of reset, but I'm kind of stretching that out a little, maybe a little longer than it needed.
That's valid. Like when we went into quarantine earlier this year, I immediately in my mind, because this is who I am, like I immediately was like, okay, I'm gonna start this program because this is the time to do it. And I'm gonna like write a book because if there's any time to do it, this is the time to do it. And it's like there's validity there. And yes, you can, but also like the fact that like we're trying to do all these things against the backdrop of a pandemic and all this other stuff happening within, with politics and, riots and protests, it's really hard to like stay focused on like one thing, in my opinion. And I don't think anyone should feel bad about that. And also what I've learned during this time is like you don't necessarily need like specific plans when you're just spending the day. Like I felt like before, like whenever my coworkers would ask me like, oh, what are you doing for the weekend, I would be like, oh, I'm going here, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to hang out with this person. And during the pandemic I've just been like, I'm just staying home and just like having tea and hanging out on my porch is valid, like, and that's all I need.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's like so nice, especially like the go, go, go. I feel like a lot of us haven't really experienced this type of like slow down, just slower life pace in so long that I feel like it kind of was the universe just being like, all right, like you guys all need to chill, like reprioritize things, or just, maybe your priorities were straight, but just kind of this way you have a chance to kind of think about it. You're like, okay, now actually what do I prioritize? And it gives you the option to change if you want, but I mean you don't have to, but um yeah, it's like it's definitely a crazy time, like did not expect this at all.
No, not at all. And like, just, I don't know. I feel like there was so much to get through the first half of the year, and now we're here and it's a little bit better. But we're in the middle of Mercury retrograde right now. So,
Yes.
how have you been like getting through? Have you done anything fun or like interesting?
um you know what, no, I don't. Well, I'm like, well, it's only been a few days, I think, but well, actually, I guess I moved all my stuff
Oh,
this weekend,
right.
so that's like like that's pretty big.
That's good.
um yeah, so it's like um and I guess Mercury retrograde is all about kind of like finishing things or going back to things that you had started, so I think it's kind of a good time for some closure, so.
It is. It's so funny because I plan on hanging out. Well, we'll see. Plan on hanging out with an ex, and we've been doing the whole like we're friends, and should we go back? It's like, you know what I'm saying, dance for
Hmm.
a few years now, but now I think that it's a new decade we're in right now. It's an entirely new energy and new year. Like this has been unlike any other year, and if there were a time to like put the kibosh on certain things or like really like finish things out like you just said, now's the time to do it. And so I'm excited to kind of like see him, I guess for reasons he's not necessarily expecting, but we'll see how it goes. um but it's all good. I actually just got this deck, the Weird Sisters, that I wanted to show you.
Oh yeah, you were talking about it. Yeah,
It's
I
so
definitely haven't
cool.
seen it. That's cool though, I love it.
The reason why I bring this up is because I actually think that this is the perfect tool to kind of like, I think tarot in general is great to dive into when you're wanting to like kind of go deep into yourself and really think about the patterns of your current life cycle or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but especially during Mercury retrograde, I just feel like going into a tarot deck and like kind of playing around and seeing like what symbols are there for you and going deep within them is really interesting. And so I actually feel like this is a really fun deck for that because it breaks it down. It's an oracle deck, not a tarot deck. So it breaks it down into spells, sigils, which are like magical symbols, and candles. And so like there's a peace candle and there's like a little write up for that. And then there's like a manifestation spell, and then maybe there's a power sigil. And it's just fun to like use this deck. So we're not like being paid by the Weird Sisters, whoever created this, but wanted to like give this a little shout out. And I wanted to,
Yeah, do you mind pulling a card
yeah,
and
let's
just
pull
kind
a
of
card.
seeing like, yeah.
I have my cards from the previous night here, so I'm not gonna mix those in. But let's see. So, what do we want to ask? Is this for our theme for us, or?
Yeah, maybe just I feel like maybe just collectively like us, and then if anyone whenever they tune in.
By the way, you do this all the time, right, Jennifer?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Although I didn't do it today because we're in the middle of finals right now, so it's just a little bit busier. So, but that's not an excuse. It only takes like 2 seconds to pull a card.
Well, it's funny. Okay, collective who will be watching this or are watching this and listening. So, Jen, you were just talking about, teas and potions and sea moss and all this fun stuff. And we got Cauldron to cultivate card. Isn't
Oh, I
that
love
cute?
it. Oh, that's so cute.
So it's like
Oh,
all these cute little things. And the write up says, really quickly, a cauldron is the sacred vessel for witches work. The cauldron holds smoke, fire, herbs, potions, and the seeds of a witch's power. Cauldrons mirror the energy and shape of a womb, the space where life is shaped into form. Something is currently growing and taking shape within you. How do you support this with the gestation process? Sorry. What is transforming within you? Move forward with care and intention for who and what is becoming. Suggested magic. Find a cauldron like find a cauldron like vessel and fill it with organic material from the past which are no longer serving you spiritually. Outside or in a fireplace, safely burn these objects from your past down to ash. Once cooled, bury the ashes in the earth. And that's your cauldron spell.
wow.
Isn't that cute?
That's so cute. It's like really deep though, too. Like when they compared it to a womb, I was like, oh wow.
Girl, I love this deck. I definitely am gonna like highly recommend it for anyone. And I just feel like this is a perfect time. Like Mercury retrograde's happening. We're on side. Like go within. Hello.
Yeah. Oh my God. I want to do that tonight too. I feel like yeah, it's just well, and then we pulled it from the card. I feel like it's like a great time to do that. Just, fill a cauldron and kind of release anything you don't need, and then have a place too to like plant kind of like new ideas too.
It's just so funny because we literally were just talking about this, like Mercury retrograde, adding the kibosh to things, the cauldron. And it's like, yeah, we can do this. Let's do this tonight. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Amazing. Um, hmm. I'm like kind of looking around my room. I'm like, what would I put in my cauldron? Because I'm not gonna lie, like I have such an attachment to my past things. I don't want to get rid of them. So I feel like that in itself is sort of like a little mini meditation.
Yeah. I definitely have on my to-do list for the next I'll give myself like 2 weeks because it's going to take a while, but just kind of clean out all my stuff because um I've moved around so much, but I always kind of like still had stuff. But I feel like that's the worst way to do it. It's like when you move somewhere, you just keep getting more stuff instead of like always reusing your stuff. So and I definitely just have way too many clothes.
Oh,
But yeah, I feel that the need to let go of some of the past and just kind of um yeah, like create space for new stuff to come in.
yeah, definitely. Like me and my ex. Um, I
Yeah, did
need
he reach out to you or how did that come about?
so if you remember during the summer, we had a few retrogrades.
Hmm.
And speaking of endings and beginnings, I feel like the retrograde is a time for that, depending on the retrograde. And I think we had one in Venus. And I actually reached out to him, kind of being funny, like, oh my God, he's Nigerian. And it was like a Nigerian joke I made or something like that. And ever since then, there's been a back and forth. There's been without getting too detailed, you know, I feel like we were all inside and we were all kind of like really lonely at one point. Like everyone was inside, and unless you were quarantining with a partner, which has its own challenges, um, I just feel like it was kind of a lonely time for everyone. And so we did start up like a back and forth conversation that has not blossomed into something quite more. It's more like a situation, if you may, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of how it got started and where we are right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like sometimes, especially when a relationship is just kind of on and off, like it's sometimes hard to, like let go or just move forward. Or like you said, like it's hard to decide either way. Like you're like, do we keep it as it is? Do we get more serious? Do we completely let it go? And it's yeah, when you have someone around that much, it's just they just become comfortable, and yeah, it's hard to move forward from that.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be, but honestly, it's all good. I'm excited to have conversations with him, mostly because I want to catch up and be face to face as opposed to, you
Yeah.
know, always on the phone. I haven't seen him also like physically in person in about 3 years, to be honest, which is really interesting because so much has changed for us in 3 years. So
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool though.
yes, very
And I feel
cool.
like yeah, when you know you're like ready, I feel like that's like such a good feeling too, because then you're like out of the ambiguous, like, oh, what do I want to do? Like stage. So I feel like that's definitely like a good sign.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I do feel like a lot of people are coming out of quarantine and just kind of wanting to hook up. And I'm like acutely aware of that as well, like not wanting to be used to like,
Yeah, right?
yeah, to satisfy someone's like emotional needs. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. Uh,
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Like, no need for that.
yeah, I'm trying to be very realistic here. Um, but aside from that, like it's also October. It's not just Mercury retrograde. It's not just, we're in quarantine. Like October is a very important month for me personally. I love Halloween. I love the spooky season. I love everything about it. Like I feel like this is like the month where our like witches, and I don't know how you really identify, Jennifer, but like I feel like we get to like raise our freak flag for like 30 days, 31 days, and we're just like, woo, like creepy ghosts
Oh,
channeling.
definitely.
Yeah.
I and I love right after Halloween too, when you go to the stores and there's just tons of like witchy stuff on sale. It's like it's the best and the worst because you're like, oh, I do need this like cheap tarot reader witch side. And then you're like, okay, no, I don't. It's like not like I don't know. Some of it's really cute and then some of it's not cute. But when it's just everywhere, you're like, oh, I want this and I want that.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you been to the Alchemist Kitchen in New York City?
No, I haven't. Where in New York is it?
It's downtown, it's near Houston Street. I'm sure people who are in New York who know the area will know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's near Houston Street, I guess the Soho area.
Yeah.
Um, it's pretty like, I don't know, I don't want to say famous, but it's pretty well known, this place. And they
Yeah.
have like all the spiritual things. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the books, the oils, and it's not like a witch shop. I would say it's more like I feel like the clientele would fall more into the light worker category.
Nice.
Yeah. Um, but it definitely has like all of the expensive things, like $40 like face cream and like everything from that to like $20 like turmeric powder drink. You know what I'm saying? Like all of
Yeah.
it is there. So that made me
Nice.
think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never been there, but have you been to Catland in Brooklyn? I went to that place. They would always have like really interesting full moon rituals, um, which were it was just so cool to like be around other people that believe in rituals and herbs and crystals and tarot and yeah, New York has some really cool and fun communities.
So Catland has its own energy. Yeah, you're right. every New York has its own like just different pockets and communities that I love. Catland is in Brooklyn. I think it's in Flatbush, on Flatbush, for something like that. I've been there like I think twice. While I was dating the guy in Brooklyn and exploring the city. Hey, um, I was like buying materials to make a love spell unbeknownst to him. But anyway, I'm joking.
Or
um,
yeah, yeah.
sweeten the love. I don't know. No, but
Yeah.
it has like its own energy. There's like a lot of queer folk in Catland.
Mhm.
It's a relatively small shop too. It's like
Yeah.
very condensed. And it's funny you say that because Jennifer, like the first time I was there, they were also like doing like some sort of, I don't know if it was like a satanic ritual or
It
something.
kinda had that vibe, yeah.
Yeah. And this was like my first introduction. I was just like, what is going on here? Oh my God. But I just kind of rolled with it. The witch community is a fun one.
Yeah, like, that's funny that you say that because 'cause I'm like, yeah, they definitely have, like, a little bit of, like it's a very different, like, witchy vibe, and,
Very
where yeah,
different from, yeah, go ahead.
so I'd be interested to see, the other place you mentioned that you said is more of, like, a light worker vibe,
Totally
um,
different.
just to kinda compare.
Totally different. I will say though, like, and this is my personal opinion, so if anyone doesn't is absolutely loves the Alchemist Kitchen, that's fine. But I also get the like hipster new age vibe from them. It's like very kind of capitalist, like product. Like they definitely have really cool events there. But like, have you ever been to, for example, in the city, my favorite place in the world, Flower Power, which is the herb shop?
No. I'm like, I need a trip up there. As soon as everything's, like,
Yes.
100% safe, I definitely need to
We should hit
that'd
up
be
all the
fun.
shops. Yes.
Mhm.
You've been to Enchantments.
I don't even think I've been there. I'm trying to
Okay.
think where I went. Like, maybe I just went to Catland. Uh, um, yeah, because I can't think of any, like, in the city that I, like, visited that were kind of new agey. Or I feel like there's, you know those ones that look they have, like, a lot of the, like, Tibetan flags and,
Yeah.
like, still like, Buddhas? I feel like there were a couple of places like that. One I'm thinking of that's, like, on a corner. I have no idea where.
Hmm.
Um, Probably like within, I guess everywhere's kind of walking distance, but like walking distance to Javits. Cause I remember, um, do you know who Amma is?
I think so.
Yeah, she's like
Yes,
a,
the
yeah,
Indian
yeah,
woman.
and she
Okay.
does the hugs. Like you go there and, well, before like Corona, like, and you wait like all night just to be able to get like a hug from her. And I don't know, just crazy awesome energy.
Hmm.
But I remember definitely like going to some shops when I like was close to there, but this is like off. I don't know if it's like repressed memories or if I just didn't go anywhere, which probably both, but
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say like it definitely even the Alchemist Kitchen is definitely more light worker, but like hipster, and then you have like you can compare it also to like Flower Power, which is a little bit more like it has like a more home feel, like almost like I know who the owner is, but it has like a mom and pop shop type of feel, like a neighborhood herb shop, witchy, but also not like in your face buy things. It feels more like authentic to me. You know what I'm
yeah, yeah.
saying? Definitely more like Green Witch vibes there. Um,
Very cool.
yeah, but I can't wait for you to make a trip back to Manhattan because I feel like we have to visit everywhere together.
Yeah, like I feel like it'll be really cool because I like even when I lived there, it's like it's easy to just get caught up in just like working and you like I've probably like walked past these places and just like never even like noticed or like went in and like the cool thing is like what you were saying earlier is that there's just so much like the soul tribe in New York is like so strong that there's just like cool places everywhere. Like it's New York's the best.
And like also like I know the Alchemist Kitchen is relatively recent, but like just thinking about like how strong these people had to be to open like these sort of shops in New York City, like in my opinion, in New York City, you know what I'm saying? Like way back when in the 90s and stuff, when a lot of these shops were open, a lot of this was very much like counterculture, not cool at all, really. Um, so for them to just be like, I don't care, I'm just gonna open like an herb shop or witchy supply shop, and you know what I'm saying? Like I just
Mhm.
love the history of it too. So cool.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I don't know. It's just like I'm like thinking about that, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I feel like it's and actually I feel like it's got to be like one of the big like driving forces like behind the like new age movement. And I don't really want to call it like a movement, but like I feel like, right, because just kind of like the whole rise and like attraction, like I feel like a lot of like most of it's definitely like comes from within, but then um you know, it's strengthened by everything like around. So
Hmm.
um yeah, that's like really cool.
Hmm. Well, how did you
Like the
get
OGs.
involved? Yeah, they are the OGs for real. But how did you
uh,
get into like this community? And I think we're using new age in a very much like an umbrella term type of way to like represent a lot of different belief systems. But like, how did you kind of get introduced to this or get started?
yeah, so I feel like as a child I was always kind of like in tune with it, and then it's funny too because I feel like the more you think back on it, the more you're like, oh, in this example, but like um even as kids I feel like the games my sisters and I mostly played were we would like build fairy houses, or we would we made up this game called like Ghostland, and we like pretended that there were like ghosts all around. And like I feel like just those two things in their like on their own are, I mean, they're definitely things kids do, but it's because you're like more in touch with kind of like the spiritual nature. um and yeah, I've always been like pretty empathic, but I didn't really like start realizing that there were, or that it was more than just kind of or I guess that there was like a label to it, or there were other people that kind of had more gifts and more developed gifts, until um, my best friend passed away when I was in college.
Hmm.
And after that, I was just like really distraught. And I think it was my aunt that said, oh, you should go meet with a psychic. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, but actually, now that I'm thinking about it, so my mom's side of the family, so that was my aunt, like they're all pretty, my mom's probably like the least psychic of them. But I know like they said like her sister when she was little, um, would like see people's like spirits and like dead like the sixth sense, not like gross scary dead bodies, but
Right, right.
or like physical bodies, but she would see like someone standing on the road, and she's like, oh, that man, like he just died right now. And then like they would drive further up the road and see that there was like a really bad accident or something. And so it's definitely, so I feel like those are kind of the stories I grew up with. So I always kind of, or I just never really thought about it because it was just kind of there. Um, it was just like a normal thing for my aunt to like have seen dead spirits.
I love that. I love that.
um, so yeah, so I went to a psychic for the first time, and I definitely just really, or I guess she was more, or I guess like a psychic medium,
Mhm.
because she talked to my best friend boyfriend at the time or before that. And I could just tell that it was like him coming through, and I could like physically feel like someone like giving me a hug whenever I was upset. Um, and so I feel like my first type of like communication like that is because I could like feel the spirits, I would kind of communicate with them. I made up this like uh not situation or not game, but just kind of thing where I would be like communicating with a spirit. And I like held out both my hands like this, and I was just like, if it's like a yes, like touch this hand, and if it's a no, touch this hand.
Mm.
And but before I like got involved, I did kind of like a protection ritual where I just um kind of uh manifested and just like made it known that I would only be contacted by like good spirits. And I only ever did this once. which like part of me is like I need to be better about like setting up boundaries and protection. But yeah, so I feel like so I did that, and so I was never ever like really worried or felt bad about interacting with the spirit that I didn't feel safe around. But yeah, so that was kind of the first, like my first foray, I guess, into mediumship was just kind of like feeling it. And I don't know, I guess I feel like I was really lucky that I was always kind of guided to people that would guide me to something else. Like my aunt took me to my first psychic medium. And then actually when I first found out about what a starseed was I had a friend who um, was just kind of like really straight up about it. Cause I guess we were very spiritual anyway. So it wasn't like out of the blue for her to talk about it. And I know it's
Wow.
something that you can't just tell everyone, like, oh, go
Yeah, like
look it
how
up.
did
But
you react?
oh, I was just like, I was like, oh yeah, of course, that makes sense.
Really? Oh wow.
um, so I feel like, so definitely be careful about like just going up and straight up telling people. But like, I mean, I think she like knew that I would react that way, and then, yeah, then I kind of started researching it and went on the Starseed Quest, and then we went on another Starseed Quest. Um, so I know we're running out of or like getting close to time, but do you want to tell a little bit about your story? And I mean, we'll elaborate at them on them as we like go along.
Oh, sure, definitely. What time do you want to jump off?
Maybe just 5 till. Is that good?
That's fine. Yeah, so I think I'm similar to you. I just grew up having a natural inclination towards more spiritual subjects without even really knowing it. Was always interested in ghost stories. Have you ever seen that show Haunted on
No.
TLC or something, or the Travel Channel? I think it's called Haunted. It's I used to love that show, even though it would scare
Actually, I
me.
think I know what you're talking about now, where they have the little like devices and stuff. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yes, exactly. So like I used to love like ghost stories and like reading about like magic and even like, like fantasy stuff, of course, like Harry Potter and like fake magic books and was always just a world I've been interested in. And I always just had a feeling that since I was a kid, that what we see is not all there is, and that there's just so much more there. And like you, like right now, and I know we'll get more into it at some point, but I can't think of like very specific incidents right now that may be like more into spirituality, except for this nagging feeling that this is not all there is. Um, and a natural inclination towards like spiritual subjects like psychic phenomenon and ghost and like that sort of stuff. So fast forward to when I was a teen, I would always consider myself more like an intuitive person. Sometimes I feel like I get like nudges or insights about people when I first meet them. Within like the first like 10 seconds of meeting them, I get like inclinations about who this person is or their personality and stuff like that. And later I found out my late grandmother on my mother's side was like that as well. So I do think that that gift comes from her. Um, but yeah, so like when I was like a teen, I realized like I had a feeling that my grandma was going to pass away before she
Oh,
did. I went through like all the stages of mourning before she actually did. And then she did, and my family was like, going through it. And I seemed relatively like, I don't know, blase or fine, but that's just because I had already done that already. Same thing with my grandmother on my father's side. I just knew. I don't know how I knew. I just knew that they were going to pass. And when they finally, like, I would start like picking up certain books on the subject of like passing over and afterlife, and I just had like a little bit of a feeling about it. Um, and then they would pass, and I'd feel like, oh, okay, so I kind of maybe have more intuition than I think. Um, and then like, so it just continued from there. I started looking into books around like psychic development, new age thought, manifestation. Yes, the law of attraction, of course. Um, gratitude and how that can be used to like raise your frequency. And then when I was about 23 or 24, I started working part-time for a startup. And the woman, they sold personal care products, like self-care products, like baths and soaps and stuff. Um, so that was like the outward image, but internally, she was very spiritual and was into the starseed phenomena. And I always thought, to be completely honest, that people who were into UFOs and aliens were crazy. Like I literally thought like they were like a little too out there and just like off their rocker. That's always been my belief about them. But she wasn't. She was a normal, like down to earth woman that I had gotten to know and trusted and felt like really confident in. You know what I'm saying? In terms of
Mhm.
judgment and stuff like that. And so when she started to like just be open and honest about like what it is and her thoughts and share more with me, it was like I had an insatiable hunger to know more. And instead of being repelled by the community, I actually felt like I just finally was getting what I've already always wanted, which was a community of people oh, that were like-minded and on this journey, the spiritual journey. And so I, from there, it's just, I've just gone deeper and deeper into the New York community, spiritual community and stuff like that. But she was the one who introduced me to the concept of aliens and star seeds and intergalactic whatever. And yeah, and then eventually from Googling, I did find like, um, I don't want to talk too much about it because I think they tell us not to, but the same retreat you went on, and we met there actually last year, last
Mhm.
November, which is so funny.
It feels like it was like 5 years ago or something. Like it seems doesn't last year just seem like so far away after like everything that's happened
It's a
in the
different
world? Yeah.
world.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a different, we're like in a whole other reality. It's like really interesting. So, yeah, I feel you on that. Even earlier this year in
Mhm.
March, February feels like a different world to me. I'm like, what? When was that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so crazy, but I don't know. Yeah, I have faith that we're all moving in the right direction. Or I mean, we're always in the right direction, but in the just different direction, I guess.
Listen, either way, we'll be star seeds and on our mission. And just that's like my new attitude. It's just like whatever happens, it is what it is. I hope it's good. I hope it's great. I hope it's easy. But
Yeah.
no matter what, we have like our self-awareness and our knowing about who we are and what we're here to do. And I think that's all that matters. That's what I tell myself. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. I feel like that's where we should end the recording for today.
mhm. Let's do that.
All right. End record.
And record. And